Welcome to the Music Ed Matters podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Emily Williams Birch, and this podcast, it exists for you. Whether you're a music lover, an educator, a choir member, each week we bring guests to the show to help explore what matters in music. I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome to the show. Hello, and welcome to the Music Ed Matters podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Emily Williams Birch, and this is episode 151, where you get to sit down and meet one of the awesome members of the newest sponsor of the Music Ed Matters podcast, Perform International. We're talking to one of my dear friends, Dr. Gene Peterson. We talk about how he got into Perform International, how Perform International got started, the joys of travel, and why you can just do it, and how to get started. I am so honored that Perform International is trusting the Music Ed Matters podcast to be one of their, megaphones of awesomeness of how great they are as a company and as a people. So thank you, Perform International, for believing in music education and knowing that music ed matters. Thank you for transforming lives and building bridges through the power of touring. And without further ado, let me introduce you to my friend, Dr. Gene Peterson, and Perform International, our newest sponsor. Today on the Music Ed Matters podcast, I'm introducing you to my dear friend and our newest sponsor. We are talking to Dr. Gene Peterson with Perform International. Hey, Gene.
Hey, Emmy. So great to be with you.
I'm so happy that you are here and we are chatting about PI. We have been friends for so long, and I am stoked to have this conversation.
Absolutely. Me too. And we're so excited to be sponsoring your fantastic podcast.
Well, thank you for believing in this programming and everything that we're bringing to it. In fact, I was telling one of my students today, we were having office hours and I'm missing class on Wednesday. And a lot of times I will assign a podcast episode from YouTube for the makeup class, and it will always align to whatever we're working on this week. And so last week's episode 150, the first official episode that you sponsored, is what she is watching. And I'm so excited. I'm like, I wonder if she's going to notice that I got a new sponsor, because I'm still so excited about it.
Awesome.
Tell the listeners, who is Dr. Gene Peterson?
Oh my goodness. Well,
that's a tough question.
That is a tough question. I am a choral director myself that really believes in travel. Early on in my career, teaching high school, we were doing both. Every year we did some kind of travel, domestic, then international. We go back and forth between the two. And I got to know a good friend really well, who became a very good friend. That's Paul Lamb. And he's the founder of Perform International. And we decided to come together. Actually, he asked me to come together and give an artistic direction and a vision for the organization moving forward as we founded it.
That's awesome. So Paul has a background in traveling?
Absolutely. He's done a lot of different areas of travel, but much of his life has been dedicated to specific niche travel, and in this case, performance tour travel. So choirs and bands and orchestras around the world.
So it's not just choirs that are traveling with PI.
That's correct. Yep.
I love that part of it too, because music ed matters in all mediums, not just choir, but all the mediums. That's awesome. So how did Paul team up with Roland and Zoe? And y'all, Roland and Zoe are like on the ground, Atlanta-based, awesome humans who you'll talk to whenever you work with PI.
Absolutely. So Roland and Zoe have also been in the performance tour industry a very long time, and Paul and Roland and Zoe have known each other through all the workings. They are their expertise is in specifically European travel. Zoe is Irish and Roland is Swiss, and they have been putting together choir tours for a long time. When we first met with Roland and Zoe, one of the things that they were most excited about was that the goal was to create really, really meaningful experiences. And the way I like to put it is sort of realizing the dream that an artistic director has to give their students or their choristers to be able to experience the world in new ways and using music as the tool, and music and travel as the tool to do that. So bringing them on as partners and everything really opened up the depth and breadth of who we are, because of their many years of experience putting together fantastic tours. Furthermore, they just loved the idea that that we weren't going to do cookie cutter things, that they were ready to really put something together that was custom to a specific ensemble and their needs and their desires and their hopes.
That dream aspect is my favorite part of PI, that it's all the dream that you have of the, you know, your community and your singers better than anybody else. And you know what their emotional needs are, what their social needs are, what their intellectual needs are, what their musical needs are. And I love that dream realization aspect of PI, how it is so absolutely unique for every single group that is going on tour with you guys. That's one of my favorites.
Absolutely.
It makes me think
Thank you.
of your motto, bridging, bridging and
Building bridges.
transforming, building
Yeah,
bridges.
building bridges and transforming lives through the power of music. It's what we're about at the core. So that's, and so every tour is going to have something where the bridges are being built between the singer to singer, conductor to singer, singer to audience, to even choir to choir or ensemble to ensemble. And that's something that we love to do, and create experiences that happen. And then, of course, all of that, all of the experiences, from opening their eyes to new ways of living, cultures, to musical ideas, to historical realities, are built into that. And so that transforms their lives and opens their worldview to know how to live as a global citizen. So that's what we want to be about. And of course, like you said, if a music director knows, of course they know who their choristers are, so they're going to help us by saying, well, this works, this doesn't work, let's modify that, let's mold and shape this tour so it's a really meaningful trip for their specific group.
That flexibility and individualism is what really, I think, sets PI apart. In addition to just like, Zoe loves choir. Like, Zoe is not a choir director. She is not a
Totally loves choir.
chorister, but Zoe loves choir. She will go to every choir
She won't
concert.
sing for me, but you know what? She's awesome.
Yeah, she goes to every single concert.
Good.
It is so awesome to see.
Yep.
I always think, I went on a trip with y'all to Italy, to Assisi, and when people ask me why you invest the time in travel, I always like this example that, the days run together and the weeks run together, but I have such vivid images in my brain from those few days on the hillsides of Assisi and singing in that concert. I can't think that vividly of many days in my life, but that transformative power of the rehearsals that were happening. I remember the composer coming in, it was Evo, and working with Cameron Labar, who was the director, and seeing those. There were 3 or 4 high school choirs, there was a college choir, just watching those lives transform while their sound was also transforming. That experience has bridged a memory in my brain that to this day is like almost like a piece of sugar that just hangs out in my brain as a let's keep doing the work and showing up, because it was so meaningful just to be there and to see that happen.
Oh, that's fantastic. That was an amazing experience for sure.
I will never forget.
Assisi is one of my favorite places in the world, though. So
I agree wholeheartedly. The hills
yeah.
are a little bit intense to run up and down, but I just remember that final concert. Like,
That's
I don't
okay.
know.
I didn't try.
I got to the bottom of one of them one day and was like, I have to go all the way back up. But the concert, I just remember we were in the actual St. Francis of Assisi that you talk about in church all the time. And I remember the doors having to be open because it was packed house, and there were families and kids playing out in the rotunda, and it just was like the whole town and everybody else around came in. And then we had that collaborative dinner where, talk about building bridges, we all sat down to dinner with all these people from not just our festival but from the area, and it was just super memorable. That's awesome. The point of a tour. So, for someone listening, sorry that I gushed about my favorite trip for a long time. One of the questions I'm sure the listener might have is, where do I get started? I've never toured. What do I do first?
Well, you just need to contact us. You gotta, yeah, and start to dream. One of the things that I believe is that we start with a big picture, and then there are a lot of variables that need to be worked out. Of course, financial is one of the big variables, but we can start with the big picture and then start to funnel down and be able to really define what that looks like. And then what we do is we put together a proposal for you to look at and then go back and forth in terms of molding and shaping that. And when you're ready, we put out a brochure, and the brochure goes to all of your members, the prospective travelers, and we go from there. And hopefully it realizes as we hoped, and have a transformative, life changing experience. So.
I love too how all of that is customizable to the person that you are
Mm.
working with. And this plan can start years in advance. Your travelers could be your singers, but they could also be community members, family members. I know that there's lots of like little shadow partner tours that can happen so you can involve the community as well.
Mhm.
You do,
And another
oh,
thing is,
go
yeah,
ahead, sorry.
another thing is, especially for a university director, if they want to partner with high schools that are feeders into the college, and just want to have a shared experience, that's something that we love to do as well, and could be a big win, not only for the university and in recruitment side, but for the high schools to be able to then combine with the college choir and have those meaningful experiences similar to what you experienced in Assisi. Those are huge wins, in my opinion, for all that are involved.
That collaboration aspect is just continues to be one of my favorite parts. It's what allows us to
Mm-hmm.
advocate for all of these tours. But I know a lot of friends too, like they'll join a bunch of high schools together in one region and they'll go on a tour. You also do
Mm-hmm.
stateside tours as well, right?
That's right. That company is called Perform America, and those would be domestic tours, and we can do the same thing. It's customizable to what kind of experience you'd like to have with your choir, band, or orchestra, and we do like to also find choirs to do exchanges for that. Occasionally, have also domestic festivals. So those are all strong possibilities.
I just love how you don't have to come up with any of the answers to get started. You just have to ask the question. You just have to contact
Mm.
PI, hey, I think I might want to travel. And that's the coolest part is that you, the whole team, we all know the questions to ask to get to know the director and the singers and the style of the tour that would most transform their lives and build the most bridges.
Mhm. There you go, Amy. You're so good.
How many ways can I weave your mission into a sentence? It's such a good mission. It's easy to weave into sentences. I love it. It's
That's
so
right.
good.
Right.
I am really excited about this partnership and I'm really pumped to see who ends up traveling because of your support of music education. So, thank you so much for supporting the podcast and for believing in the power that is music ed that makes all of these trips and tours possible.
Well, it's a joy to partner with you too. And I know that all the information that you share on your podcasts are so appropriate for what we as music educators are doing. And so thank you for doing that. And we're so grateful that we have the opportunity to support you in that.
Well, I'm going to let you go in a second because I know both of us were stuck on planes yesterday, which makes life fun. But I want to ask you some random end of show questions. Um,
Uh-oh.
have you read any good books lately?
Oh my goodness gracious mercy. You're putting me on the spot, and the reality is I have been so overwhelmed that I have a pile of books that I want to read, but they're sitting on my coffee table to do so.
That is okay.
True
I also have a
confessions there.
pile. No, it's okay. I have a pile, and the problem that I have is I'll start them. So every single, I like run out of bookmarks because I start and then get distracted.
Uh-huh.
But it's a thing. The stack gets real high by about May, June,
Oh
and
yeah.
then I'll whittle through it over the summer, and then it stacks back up.
That's right. I'm ready to take some on some airplanes pretty soon once travel season gets going. So
Yes. Oh, I read almost an entire book yesterday while stuck on my airplane.
well,
It
that's
was
I'm sorry you were
lovely.
stuck on your airplane, but glad you had a good book.
Hey, we made the most of it. You got to make lemonade out of all that. What about your or PI does a lot with a lot of other organizations and a lot of other choirs.
Mhm.
What is something that's really inspiring you right now as you're going through this busy season?
Mm. Well, I have to say, one of the things that I love about my job is that I get to show up as I'm able to different colleagues' tours and to be able to see the connection and the meaningful exchange that they have together is really impactful on me. And it reminds me why I got into music making and music education in general in the first place. So what I have to say is to all of you who are music educators, keep at it. It's making a huge difference. I'm seeing it trip after trip after trip.
Mm,
So go
that's
for
so
it.
good. All right, that's our mission. That's our goal. That's our big one thing of the episode. We're gonna go for it wherever that going
Go
takes
for
us.
it.
I love it. Thank you so much for doing this, Jean.
Thank you, Emmy.
All right, who's ready to go? I am. I'm ready. I want to know where you're going to go. I want to know what you're dreaming. Let me know. Shoot me a message. You can find me at Dr. Emmy B on Instagram. You can also, and you totally should do this, follow the podcast. Music Ed Matters podcast is on Instagram. She needs some followers over there. That would be awesome if you could follow and just shoot me a message. Tell me what you're dreaming, where you're going. And as Jean said, it's super easy to get started. You don't have to know any answers. And if nothing else, just call and say, hey, I think I might want to travel. And the team over at Perform International, whether that's a local trip with Perform America or something bigger, they can take care of you. So give Perform International a try and let me know where you're thinking about going so you can also build bridges and transform lives through the power of travel. I am so thankful that you're listening. I hope you know, friends, that you matter. We all know that music matters, especially music on tour. And I'll see you next time on the Music Ed Matters podcast.